My name is Arthur Swope, but y'all can just call me Doc. I mean, everybody else does. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I dedicated my life to the magic of the theater. Of course, this was back when you had real, honest-to-goodness, show-enough acting. You know, back when gas lights lit the stage and people drive their buggies all day just to sit and see a play performed before them live. Not unlike we are doing here tonight. Of course, back in my day, in the 19th century, we didn't have no pads or pods or streaming, whatever those are. No, we had it good. Every night, people would flock to theaters all over the city of Atlanta just to hang on every word as the greatest actors of a generation performed stories of faraway places and romantic tales of dashing gentlemen and sophisticated ladies. Of course, some of y'all might have noticed by this point that I myself do not much look like a matinee idol. That'd be because my job didn't require the fancy costumes or the slick back hair. You see, I was a stage manager at opera houses and theaters all across the city of Atlanta. And let me tell you, we had some good ones in those days. You had the Lyric Theater, the Bijou Theater, or one of my personal favorites, the Grand Opera House, which had later come to be known as the Lowe's Grand Theater, notable for hosting the star-studded premiere of Gone with the Wind in 1939. Now, as stage manager, it was my job to make sure that the shows run both on time and without problems every single night. And I don't know if y'all know this, but backstage, hidden from the audience, is a world unto its own, with scenery flying and bitter feuds and torrid love affairs happening in the dark, all while I am just trying to make sure that curtain goes up on time. Now, we had a saying back then. It was, what happens backstage stays backstage. But that being said, there are a few stories that I don't mind telling. Now, I myself wasn't actually born into a theatrical family. I was born in Indiana in 1854, and I didn't even make my way down south until about 1876, I think it was. I was stationed at Fort McPherson, you know, after the war. I kicked around for a bit before I finally landed a job at a theater and became a union man. Eventually, I even helped organize the Atlanta Stagehands in about 1896. My wife, Kate, worked with me in the theater as well. And let me tell you, she was fiery and smart as a whip. I remember one night, as I was lowering the curtain on the second act of, it was some opera, it doesn't matter. A fight broke out between two stagehands backstage. So, of course, I rush in to break it up. Now, Kate looks over, and she thinks that the two gentlemen are attacking me. So she jumps in to try and save my life, as she is wont to do. But just as she enters the fray, one of the gentlemen pulls out a straight razor, and Kate and the other guy both go down in a pool of blood. Now, we called a doctor, and he was able to stitch her up okay. She was just fine. But more importantly, I'm here to tell you that that curtain went up on time for that third act. And not a single soul in that audience knew that the real drama was happening backstage that evening. Of course, that's not my most famous story. No, my most famous story is the one that made me a bit of a celebrity, even got me a few free drinks over the years. That would be the tale of the lion that got loose on the city streets of Atlanta. But I'm sure y'all don't want to hear that one. Oh, do you? Well, okay. If you're going to twist my arm, I suppose I'll indulge you. Here's what happened. I was working at the Bijou Theater, and they had this lion in the show. It was a gorgeous creature, but it was huge. And one night, that lion done busts out of its cage. Now, we managed to keep it away from the audience, but it slips right past us into the city streets. And let me tell you, it was pandemonium. You got ladies and gentlemen alike running, screaming, climbing up telegraph poles. A policeman spied the beast and raised his weapon to fire, but a producer from the show jumped in front of him to save the beast's life and probably protect his investment. But he almost got shot himself in the process. So the lion turns up Peachtree Street, the producer running behind, firing rubber bullets into the air. The lion, pursued into a drugstore, begins to tear the place up, as lions are wont to do. So you got clerks and customers alike climbing over the counter, climbing on top of shelves, all to get out of the way. And this is when myself and 7 other stagehands, all union men, mind you, arrive on the scene with the lion's cage. But by this point, word had spread of the events that were transpiring, and hundreds of people poured into the streets to watch us tussle with the king of the jungle. Well, we crept into that drugstore with the cage, and we wedged it between the wall and the display, with the mouth facing open towards the snarling beast. We all held our breath. Okay, well, I might be overdoing the pause a little bit, but it's for effect, you see. So we waited to see what would happen. And that big lion gave us one long look. And hand to God, that big old cat just sauntered back into its cage like ain't nothing happened. Well, we closed that door and locked it good this time, let me tell you that. Now, of course, this was big news. So our names were splashed across the front page of newspapers all over Georgia. And for years afterwards, anytime anybody'd hear the name Doc Swope, I'd get, "Ooh, tell that story about the lion again." And I'm not ashamed to say that that lion might have got a bit bigger in the telling. Well, I sense that our time is coming short this evening. So allow me to impart upon y'all some advice that I learned from my many years of working in live theater. Everybody on this earth, from the youngest to the oldest, loves to hear a good story. It don't matter if it's in the nicest playhouses downtown or right here in Oakland tonight. Let me tell you one more piece of advice, actually. This one, a little more practical. Do not let the lion out of its goddamn cage. Listen, I don't get too many opportunities to tell my stories or talk about my Kate, at least not since I landed here in Oakland in 1920. So I want to thank y'all very much for being a lovely audience. Y'all have a good evening and a pleasant journey. Good night.